What if the motorcycle that defines the future isn't futuristic at all? What if the bike that reignites your love for riding comes from a time when motorcycles were lighter, simpler, and built to be ridden everywhere, without excuses? In 2026, Honda reaches deep into its soul and pulls out a name that still echoes through dirt trails, mountain roads, and memory itself. A name that never chased excess, yet earned respect everywhere it went. This is the Honda SL175, and it's back to remind us what motorcycling was always meant to be. Long before adventure bikes became massive, before dual sports turned into tech-heavy machines, there was the SL series. Honest motorcycles built for riders who didn't want to choose between pavement and dirt. And at the heart of that legacy was the SL175, a lightweight, scrappy, go-anywhere machine that felt just as comfortable climbing a trail as it did cruising into town. The original SL175 wasn't about domination. It was about balance. It combined just enough power with just enough weight to create something magical. A motorcycle that encouraged exploration without intimidation. It didn't ask for experience. It created it. And that's exactly why it became a gateway bike for an entire generation of riders. Back then, the SL175 was freedom on two wheels. High-mounted exhaust, long travel suspension for its era, upright riding position, simple engineering you could understand, maintain, and trust. Riders didn't baby it, they rode it. Hard, through dust, rain, mud, and miles of unknown terrain. And it never complained. Now fast forward to 2026. The world has changed. Motorcycles have grown heavier, faster, more complex. And riders, more than ever, are craving something real again. Something they can connect with. Something that doesn't feel like it's trying too hard. Honda understood that call, and instead of reinventing the SL175, they honored it. The 2026 Honda SL175 arrives not a retro gimmick, but as a continuation of a philosophy that never stopped making sense. From the first glance, the SL175 feels instantly familiar. Slim proportions. Minimal bodywork, a stance that says it's ready for anything without shouting about it. The fuel tank is narrow and sculpted, designed for control rather than presence. The seat is flat, practical, and inviting, built for movement, not posing. The silhouette is unmistakable, upright, purposeful, balanced. It doesn't lean aggressively forward or sit lazily back. It stands neutral, like it's waiting for instructions. The high-mounted exhaust returns, tucked cleanly along the side, reminding you that this bike still expects dirt, rocks, and water crossings. Modern updates are there, but only where they matter. Clean LED lighting replaces old bulbs without altering the bike's character. Durable finishes resist wear instead of showing off gloss. Every design choice feels intentional. Nothing is wasted. Nothing feels added just for attention. At the heart of the 2026 L175 is a modernized single-cylinder engine tuned for versatility and responsiveness. Fuel injected, air-cooled for simplicity and reliability. Built to deliver usable torque rather than impressive numbers. This engine doesn't explode with power. It builds it smoothly, predictably, and confidently. Throttle response is immediate but calm. There's no surge, no intimidation, no drama. Just clean, linear delivery that feels connected to your wrist. It encourages smooth riding. It rewards control. It builds trust. The SL175 doesn't ask you to ride aggressively. It invites you to ride naturally. Gearing is perfectly chosen for dual-purpose use. Low enough to navigate trails with confidence. Tall enough to cruise comfortably without strain. Whether you're climbing a dirt road, rolling through a small town, or stretching the ride just a little farther than planned, the SL175 never feels out of place. And then there's the weight, or rather the lack of it. The 2026 SL175 feels light in a way modern bikes rarely do. Not flimsy, not cheap, just honest. Easy to maneuver, easy to pick up, easy to live with. That lightness changes how you ride. You feel more in control, more willing to try, more confident in tight spaces, loose terrain, and unexpected situations. The suspension reflects that same mindset. It's compliant, forgiving, and tuned for real-world surfaces rather than racetrack perfection. It absorbs bumps, smooths out uneven ground, and keeps the bike stable without feeling stiff or demanding. You don't fight it, you flow with it. Riding the 2026 SL175 feels like rediscovering a lost language, the language of momentum, balance, timing. You don't overpower this bike, you guide it, and in return, it responds with clarity and confidence. On pavement, the SL175 feels nimble and engaging. Corners are intuitive, transitions are smooth, the bike leans easily and holds its line without protest. You're not wrestling weight or fighting geometry, you're simply riding. Off-road, the bike truly comes alive. Standing on the pegs feels natural. The chassis communicates clearly. The front wheel goes where you point it. The rear follows obediently. Loose surfaces feel manageable instead of threatening. Trails become playgrounds rather than challenges. And that's the magic. The SL175 doesn't try to shield you from the ride. It connects you to it. You feel the ground, you feel the feedback, you feel present. Every ride becomes an experience rather than a task. This is a motorcycle that teaches without lecturing. It builds skill quietly. New riders gain confidence quickly. Experienced riders rediscover finesse. Mistakes don't feel catastrophic, they feel educational. The SL175 doesn't punish curiosity. It rewards it. That's why the original SL series created such loyal riders. And that's why the 2026 revival has struck such a powerful chord. The response hasn't been about specs or performance charts. It's been emotional. Riders talk about memories. About learning to ride. About bikes that took abuse and kept going. About the feeling of being young, curious, and unburdened by expectations. The SL175 wasn't just a motorcycle. It was a companion. Honda didn't forget that. The 2026 SL175 feels like a thank you letter to riders who value substance over spectacle. It fits into lives easily. It doesn't demand attention. It earns trust. It becomes the bike you reach for when you just want to ride. It works as a first motorcycle without feeling disposable. It works as a second or third bike without feeling redundant. It works for commuting, exploring, learning, and escaping. Few motorcycles are that adaptable, and even fewer do it without trying to be everything at once. There's something deeply grounding about riding the SL175. It reminds you that adventure doesn't require size, that excitement doesn't require excess, that joy doesn't require complexity. It reminds you that motorcycles were once about movement, balance, and freedom, and that those values still matter. The 2026 Honda SL175 doesn't scream nostalgia. It whispers continuity. It says that some ideas were right the first time, that some machines don't need reinvention, they need respect. This is a motorcycle for riders who don't need to prove anything. For riders who measure success in smiles, not speed. For riders who understand that the best roads aren't always paved, and the best rides aren't always planned. The SL175 doesn't chase the future. It reconnects us with the essence of riding, and in doing so it feels more relevant than ever. The 2026 Honda SL175 isn't just back. It never stopped being needed. And once you ride it, you remember something important. This is what freedom feels like.